I can't hear you, Lazard. You need to turn your mic.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I'm apologizing whole day about like having some small issues, but I think it's going to be okay. So, guys, do you want me to leave you two alone and like step back?
Yes, fine. As I said, instead of doing my 4 p.m. BST as I normally do with Seller Sessions, we've jumped on your platform to do the version of Seller Sessions on your platform. So thanks for having us on to your 48-hour megaphon marathon. Hope you get some sleep. For those who don't know, my name is Danny McMillan. I run Seller Sessions, the podcast, amongst other things. Today with me is Anthony Webster. Anthony is a 7-figure Amazon seller. He is also co-founder of Seller Chatbots. And today we're going to be talking about inventory and shifting inventory. It's probably going to be a good time to talk about that with limitations and all different kinds of things. So thanks to Lazar. In about 30 minutes time, Kian Gulzari will be joining the show also. Anthony, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, good. So should we want to take it back, give the story first? Because I think a lot of people understands about flushing out inventory. Everyone's got different versions. I mean, I'll give you an example. Quite often it's sometimes just cheaper, just like in terms of opportunity costs, time costs and everything else. Yeah. Sometimes it's better for Amazon to destroy it. And when you do attempt to do, and in certain situations, when you're trying to flush out stock with PPC and you've got a horrific sales history and bad conversion rates and stuff, you're onto a bit of a challenge there, aren't you? So do you want to give your story first and then we'll talk about some of the tips you got?
Yeah, for sure. You mean the story about clearing out stock or just my background?
Background on yourself, and then we'll talk about how you got to this. You got two versions of how you clean stock, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I'm a software developer by trade. I did that for years, and I had a great career. And my wife took maternity leave to have a baby, and she set up a pretty successful Amazon business. And I was kind of like, "Oh, what are you doing over there? That looks cool." And I got more and more involved. It was a lot of fun. And then I left my job about maybe 5 years ago. And we haven't looked back. It's been great to be at home and spend time with the family. And there's rough months and good months, but it's been worth it. It's been fun. Yeah,
you had a bit of a tricky COVID, didn't you? But
we did. We're okay now. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's talk about flushing out some stock then. Give us the story and then some of the tactics that you've used.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking, I can't remember, it was a few weeks ago, and we were every now and again someone says to you, I've got this slow moving product and I'm going to remove it. I'm going to put it in a warehouse and I'm going to try again later. And every time you hear that, it's like, oh no, that's the worst idea. Like you said, one of the easiest things to do is probably just destroy it, just get rid of it. But it's really good for you to get rid of that slow moving stock and clear it out. It's good for the soul. So the best thing to do instead of taking it out, putting it into storage and saving that problem, is to just get rid of that stock and put your money into something else. That's what you really want to do. You want to put it into your best selling stock. So what we're talking about, this is a little while ago. I had a product that I'd launched in Europe. I thought it was going to be a winner. We always do, right? And it turns out it wasn't. We'd really over-engineered the product, and the reviews were coming in at 3 stars. It just wasn't a great product. And before we knew it was a bad product, we'd sent a load of small numbers of stock to the USA to test our whole product range, and we were going to do launches and all the rest of it. So we sent a small amount to the US before we knew it was a duff product. And then it got there and it sat in a 3PL, and I was just ignoring it. I didn't want to deal with it. And then the 3PL were like, what are you going to do? You've got to get it out. So we sent it into Amazon. And we were blessed with no negative sales history, right? That was a big advantage for us. So what we did, we decided to put the price as high as we could, not unrealistically high, but if the market was kind of your 10, 15, maybe as high as $20 in price point, we went in at 20 or 25, something like that. Obviously, if you've got a product that's already for sale, you're going to have to try and get that price as high as you can, and you might need to inch up slowly so as not to lose the buy box. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a rule, but you just do whatever you can get away with, and then try and just keep trying again. But in our case, we didn't have that problem. We had a product with no sales history, so put it on for a nice high price. So that's step one: get a nice high price. And do you know those? The clippable coupons. I never know whether to call them coupons or vouchers, because in Europe they're called vouchers.
They're in vouchers, yeah. In Europe,
Yeah. But I think they are amazing. I know you have to pay a fee for those, but we use them a lot. We use them a lot on all our products and whenever we can afford to, and we especially use them for clearing out stock. So you go for a nice high price, $20, and you put a 50% coupon on. And the reason I always go for 50% is, again, it's painful, right? You've designed this product, you thought it was great, now it's not. You want to get some money back. So ideally, you'd probably want to go for 30% off or something like that and still make some money. But that's not the name of the game. The idea is to sell out as quickly as possible. And you don't want to put all your effort into this and then have to revisit in a week or two and tweak it. And you don't want to do that. So don't mess around. Go for 50% off. And the other reason you'd go for a nice 50% off number is customers can't resist discounts, right? And 50% is just such a great number, because even people that are really bad at maths know that 50% is pay half price. So there's no, what's 50%? If you go 30% or 40%, people are like, $20, 30% off, what's that? And it's taxing. You go 50%, you know exactly you're going to pay $10, and that, for me, that's kind of no-brainer territory. When people are going to get 50% off, they buy stuff they maybe don't even need because it seems like such a great deal.
Yeah.
So go for a really great coupon. Wait till that's live. Obviously, it takes a few hours to go live now. In fact, sometimes I see them even quicker.
Yeah, 3 hours. So yeah.
3. Yeah. Okay. Great. Wait till it's live and then put your PPC on. And I don't know, I mean, you're the PPC expert, so I don't know if you already had PPC history, what you would do. But, we just threw something up. We stuffed the main.
If you've got PPC history and it hasn't worked then, that's not going to work for you if you've got bad campaign history, if that makes sense in terms of your campaign. So I think one of the benefits of what you're saying is that you had a clean slate. You're able to just go in, list, no sales history, and then try and flush it out that way. You had no limitations on the buy box because you hadn't listed before. You hadn't had a set sales price with some history on it, and it doesn't look like you're gorging and jacking the price up,
Right. But the key thing for me is when using a voucher is don't put the PPC on until the voucher's live, because if you're selling much higher than anybody else, you're selling for $20. No one's going to buy it if you've got no reviews or anything. So wait for the voucher to come in before you turn the PPC on, because Amazon's going to test you out. It's going to show your product to a few people and see how they react. So you want to make sure that those first few people see the voucher and go, I have to buy that. That's that's a really great signal. So wait till that's on, then put the PPC on, and then just go for it. Again, with the bids, I wouldn't mess around. You're trying to get rid of this stock so you can go focus on your best sellers. Yeah.
And as you jacked it up so high, did you adjust the price at all according to frequency in terms of increasing sales, or did you just leave it as it was?
No, we just left it.
And so that's that side of the story. In terms of on the Facebook side, what would you do there, and how would you set up the targeting for something like this, especially if you haven't got a pixel or anything like that that's been warmed up?
I mean, for stuff like this, I don't think you even need a pixel, right? We're talking about small numbers. I mean, you should always use, whatever you do, you should always use a pixel, right? You want to, if you're running Facebook ads, you want to use a link shortener of some description that allows you to put a pixel on, because if you end up running the campaign for longer, you want to be able to retarget and do lookalikes and stuff like that. So you should definitely use something that allows you to put a pixel on what you're doing. But if you haven't got a pixel and you haven't got any history, that doesn't matter. But what we would normally do then is we'd run some Facebook ads to send traffic to the Amazon listing, just to kind of give it a bit of a jump start. And we don't, we've done it all. We've done videos and we've done slideshow videos, and generally in our experience, the pictures that work best are just your nice, clean Amazon listings. If you've got like a really nice Amazon image, just, white background, white out, and square's a good shape. Amazon's got you well trained there. If you're scrolling on your Facebook feed and you're looking at a picture, square is going to take up a nice amount of space, so that's great. So just go for a really nice picture, and then I would superimpose a little kind of sticker on it that says, 50% off or something like that, and that's it. And then you write your copy just saying what a great discount it is. Yeah.
And so far, so good for you. Prime Day, how's it going for you?
It's looking good so far. I mean, got a bit of a surprise this morning with Spain. Spain seems really good today. They obviously like Prime Day there as well. So yeah.
And what have you done in terms of setting up, in terms of promo? What's the approach you've been taking on your PPC discounts and stuff like that? Have you been running any deals?
No, we haven't done anything special for Prime Day. The September, the fact that it's late this year, October, once we get to this time of year, we don't want to be thinking about sales and stuff like that. What we've done in previous years is we've tried to rank a month before Prime Day. And we've got lucky in the past. We've managed to, get the bestseller badge just before Prime Day. And if you can do that a couple of weeks before and hold on to it, then you can go through Prime Day with, fantastic sales. So,
And how's things going over at Seller Chatbot? I mean, you guys are growing now. You've also got the service side of the business. I did have Paul on my show last week pertaining to the article, the blog post that you guys done. In terms of the validity of some of the customer profiles and how that can affect ranking. What stuff are you seeing on the chatbot side at the moment that's piquing your interest?
The thing we're doing a lot of at the moment, which I know a lot of Amazon sellers are doing, is rebates.
Targeting.
The thing we're seeing at the moment is that we don't like Facebook particularly. A lot of people think that the Facebook targeting is like a rule, but Facebook doesn't see targeting as a rule. It sees it as a guideline. So you could say, I only want people in the US, or, I only want this or that. As an example, most of our customers are women. So we would usually target women and women under 35, 40. Yet Joe's dad, he's 70. He's definitely not a woman. He'll be calling us up. He's got 3 friends on Facebook. He's like a rubbish Facebook user. He's a bad customer. You would never want to pay to advertise to him because he wouldn't know what to click on to buy the product, right? And he calls us up. He says, "Oh, I saw your ad on Facebook. Look very professional." And he shouldn't be seeing that. He's been he shouldn't be in our targeting. But that's classic Facebook. They'll show it to people that they think are most likely to click on it, and of course he'll click on it because it's his daughter's business and he wants to have a look and he wants to support. But as a business, that doesn't do you any good at all. You don't want those customers.
So how's the pace for you at the moment? Obviously, we're starting to move to the eye of the storm of Q4. How do you and Joe pace it? We done a show on Monday about mindset and being able to pace yourself, because you get Prime Days and you've got Black Friday, then you've got Cyber Monday, and then you've got all the stresses, suspensions, and all different kind of things that you can end up running yourself into the ground. So what have you done to prepare this year to stay on your A game?
I'm not sure if it's what we've done to prepare, but we're really happy that our kids are back in school because, up until, like everybody, we had the kids at home for a long time and it was really hard to concentrate. So, now we've got until 3:30 most days, or 5 p.m. and you just try and get as much important work done as possible in the mornings. But we haven't got a special technique or a special tactic. And, I'm the same as everybody else in that 5 o'clock rolls around, or if I'm doing work in the evenings, bedtime rolls around and there's still stuff on my to-do list, and it's frustrating. But, I've got a really good friend who always says to me, it's not a race, just chill out. If you don't get to it today, just get to it tomorrow. Just, don't stress yourself out, because, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. What's the plans for next year? You building out the company?
Yeah, we're just same as everybody. We're just trying to add more products and just really fill out the portfolio. and just, we sell fairly cheap products. So we're trying to get just a really nice range of products that we can put in front of people. We're trying to make sure they're complementary, sell them on the website as well, upsells. So, start with your cheaper products and advertise those and use those to get people in, and then sell, upsell while people are in the funnel kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know Amazon doesn't really do that, but I mean, they do it a little bit, right? You've got frequently bought together and they've got their new bundling stuff happening, but we know that that's right for us as a brand. So we're trying to do that. And if we can do that on Amazon as well, then great.
What do you predict for next year in terms of chatbots and obviously the rebate thing? Do you think there's some limitations there, or is it going to be?
For sure, yeah. I think it's going to get shut down at some point, or not shut down, but like every technique we've ever had, right? We've had super URLs back in the day, and all those things. Everything always changes, and as long as you're in the community and you're talking to people, you'll find out when it changes, and there'll be a new tactic or technique, or things will change. And so I don't know what will be different yet, but I know that it will be different.
Cool.
So,
I've just been informed by Lazar we've got to update the stream. Lazar, could you let into the studio Kian Golzari as well for us, if you can hear me in the background? And then we'll get the string changed over. So 2021, you've got a lot of plans going ahead. Well, as you said, you're going to diversify your portfolio. You're going to have an opportunity to sell other products at higher price point as well. And you doing a big push into the US?
Yeah, so we're an odd situation, right? Most people are 80% US and 20% Europe, and we're the other way around. We do great numbers in Europe. We love the European marketplace. We like the languages. We like to write fun listings that kind of have they're a bit jokey and talk to our audience, and we like to try and do those in other languages as well. So we need to do that in the US. We've never put much focus on the US. So yeah.
Cool. So if people want to reach you for questions or sell a chatbot or anything you do, I mean, you do quite a lot of things in the space anyway, but what's the best way that people can reach you?
Reach out on Facebook. Yeah.
Excellent.
Right. Every day.
We've got Kian coming up. He's in the back room at the moment, in the green room, but as I don't have the admin panel here, I'm just waiting for Lazar to let him in, and here he is. Kian, how you doing?
All good, Danny. How about yourself?
Yeah, what you been up to?
Oh, just working like crazy, hitting the gym, just trying to stay healthy, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, cool. Right, we don't even have let's freestyle it. We don't even have a set topic. What's at the top of mind at the moment that we can chew over?
Well, something really interesting right now is that the online Canton Fair is back in 2 days' time. So on the 15th of October, it's going to be the second time they've attempted this. The first online Canton Fair was in June, and we covered a little bit about this on your podcast.
It was awful. The interface was awful. Have you seen an update to it? Is there any changes, any positive?
I think, well, I hope so. We won't get to see it in its full glory until a couple of days, but like from the initial thing on the website in terms of like registering, it looks very similar to the last one. So I can only hope that once we get to log in and go inside, that it's a little bit more like user friendly. So just a background for everyone who's wondering about this, like the Canton Fair typically attracts the best suppliers in China because they're the big manufacturers that they don't list on Alibaba, and they don't list on Alibaba because their customers or their production line is always full because they've got the biggest customers. But the challenge was that because of COVID, the last two real Canton Fairs have been cancelled, so they've have to transition it online. And this is a really big opportunity for Amazon sellers because you get access to the best suppliers without having to go to China. Now, the interface is extremely user-friendly on Alibaba. That's what makes ordering so easy. But the suppliers are so-so. Like, they're okay. There's good ones and there's bad ones, but you really have to search for it. But at the Canton Fair, I would argue that 90% of the suppliers are top. So but their interface and their website is terrible. But we're going to see in a couple of days if they've improved it. And if they haven't improved it, it's still worth your time to work around it and I made a couple of YouTube videos on it, but I'm like, when we see it, like in a couple of days, like we'll go live and we'll see like what it's really like. But that's something you can't really ignore. And if you are buying from China, you should definitely check that out. And if you're also looking for inspiration for your next product as well, you should definitely check that out, because they have like the design hall.
The showroom, isn't it? Design halls, yeah.
Yeah, the showroom. And that's just something I know from attending the fair so many times. Like I've been to over 20 Canton fairs, and it's like in between like area B and C, there's this like little glass room, and you always just walk past it because you don't even notice. But that's basically the award hall, and it's like any product which has won some sort of prize for innovation or design is featured in there. And what I found really cool about the last online Canton fair is that you could literally just nip into that hall and they have all the products. And like a Google Street Map, you just like click and it takes you through. You find a product, you click on it, it's got all the supplier details, and you can get some real inspiration from that hall. And they also had like live streams from suppliers. They could just go live, and you can literally just talk to manufacturers and they'll present to you the new products they've been working on. So it is a pain in the ass to get into it and navigate around it, but once you're in it, like you're going to find some really cool stuff.
Like Alcatraz, wasn't it, trying to get in there last time?
Yeah. As long as it's not like Alcatraz trying to get out, it's all good.
So you had some hacks last time round, didn't you? You went in and went around the interface and you found some problems. And the problems, what was some of your top of mind stuff? Do you remember some of the things, the suggestions you made?
Yeah, the problem was that like when you type in what you're looking for, there was no way that you could filter your results. So like with Alibaba, you can filter like, okay, how many workers have got a factory, how many years they've been in business, their location, if you can get trade assurance. So you can really like narrow it down to like what you're looking for. But if you went into like an online Canton fair and you type in like, I don't know, massage chair, it will just bring up like alphabetically all the massage chairs. But let's say there's a factory which has got 100 different massage chairs. It would list those 100, showing like maybe 30 per page. So you have to scroll 3 pages just to get to the next supplier. But then let's say there's 30 suppliers, there's just like hundreds of pages, but no one's going to scroll to page 47 to click on it and try and find like who's the best supplier. So because there was no like filtering system, it really benefited the ones in alphabetical order, and the ones who are at the end of the alphabet, you would never even come across their page. So that was probably the biggest pain point. And the other thing is that like to register, like it was asking for like your passport number and your business details, and not a lot of people feel comfortable. Yeah, exactly. Like given that to a Chinese website, which you have to translate into English, which you aren't getting like a first good impression, and then they're just asking for all your information. So a lot of people were like, I don't want to put in my information, so they didn't actually log in. But like the real Canton Fair, like the one in Guangzhou, like you have to submit all your business information. They take a scan of your passport, so that's like normal for them, but they just didn't advertise it in the right way. So a lot of people got put off by that. But there's ways around it. You know, you can sign in with a guest. And I think before as well, if I remember correctly, Google Chrome users had some issues because Google is banned in China. But if you use Safari, it loads a lot like easier as well. So, and it's the same with the Chinese website 1688.com. If you load it in Safari rather than Google, it's just a lot user friendly. So it's little things like this that I just sort of picked up from using it. But you know, if anyone wants to get some feedback of what the last one was like, I do have a video on it on my YouTube channel, which is just called Sourcing with Kian, and you can check that out. And then, you know, Danny, maybe you and I can do another episode on it when it goes live in a couple of days as well, so we can update people.
We can take a look and see if there's any improvements there. I mean, look, we're stuck in the middle of COVID. We've lost 2 Canton fairs now, haven't we? Because we had October and we lost April. It just didn't go ahead. But ironically, they cancelled it about a week before, didn't they? The Chinese were desperate to go forward with it, and it looked like they were just going to just do it. But they then, I think it was week 10 days, they cancelled. What do you think is the future of the Canton Fair now? Obviously, it's going to come back. We know that. Yeah. But you understand a bit more with the boots on the ground in China. You're dealing with people in China every day, bigger suppliers and stuff. What do you see the future is there in terms of getting back out to the fair the way things are in COVID?
Yeah, well, as far as I know, you can actually get back out to China now. Like, I mean, so if you had a visa for China before, like I had a 10-year visa, when COVID hit, all visas got scrapped. So you have to now reapply if you want a new visa, if you want to go back to China. And before they were saying like, okay, it's only like diplomats and government officials which can go in. But now they're saying like anyone can apply. And the rule was that once you get into China, you have to self-quarantine for 14 days in like an airport hotel or something. But now I think they've relaxed that a little bit as well. So getting to China is a little bit easier. Now, the problem with the next Canton Fair, which will be April, is that, yes, okay, the virus is pretty much fixed in China. Like people are roaming around and it's no problem. But if it's not fixed in other parts of the world, they won't want to welcome those people into China. But if they can self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult in that, okay, if you want to attend the fair, you probably have to quarantine for 2 weeks before the fair. Then you have to probably spend about a week at the fair and then quarantine 2 weeks when you get home. So the numbers will definitely be down, but the fair definitely still has to go ahead. And they've kind of shown with the last online fair that it didn't really work properly. Hopefully they fix this one. But if this one doesn't work as well, then you kind of have to go back to the original one as fast as possible. So we'll see. I think if they allow us to travel, for sure I'll be there. And I think anyone who goes will have a very big advantage. So we've definitely got to keep in mind April for the next fair. If you can go, definitely you can go. You should go.
Cool. I know we're only starting to get into the business end of Q4 now, but you still have to plan ahead. We do have Chinese New Year just around the corner in January. What are some things people do now if they're not rushed off their feet and they've got to spare a few hours? What should they be doing now in terms of planning for that coming to swing around in January?
Yeah, it's a great question because Chinese New Year is the lunar holiday, so the date actually changes every year. But this year it's the end of January, and typically that's kind of like the busiest time of the year for production because, like, obviously Q4 they're very busy anyway, and then they try and rush all their orders out before they close. Now, I've done business in China for like more than 10 years, right? Very rarely had like quality problems. But when I have had a quality problem, it's been on an order which is shipped right before Chinese New Year. And that's just because the workers are not normally from the town of which their factory is. They're from another town. And they're just literally trying to finish the orders as fast as possible so they can get the train home and go home for a month. So like they rush the orders and workers just start leaving as well. So it becomes a mess and it becomes a disaster. So if you are shipping products right before Chinese New Year, and you aren't doing pre-shipment inspections, this is the time to do it 100%. And also, like, in general, like, shipping rates are kind of based on like capacity, but in general, shipments are just a little bit more expensive around Chinese New Year as well because of such the volumes that need to go out. And here's the thing, like the way to get around these sort of issues is to give your factory forecast orders. So like if you know roughly how many units you produce in a year, like maybe you sell 10,000 units a year, and you can estimate, okay, next year we'll probably sell 15,000 units. Give your factory the forecast for the year to be like, look, we're going to order about 15,000. I'm not saying I'm going to take all 15,000 up front. I'm going to take it over the course of the year. Maybe I'll take like 3,000 every like 3 months or something like that. But I would appreciate if you could hold all the materials in stock. So one, you get like faster lead times. They don't need to go and prepare all the materials for 30 days. Like it's there in their factory and they know that they're going to get orders for it. Or they can also just go ahead and produce it and then keep the goods in storage as long as they're not perishable. And then they're just always ready to ship out whenever you need them. And that way you avoid their peak season, their busy season, the higher shipping costs, the Chinese New Year problems, and your goods are always ready. So your lead times are shorter. And to do something like that, you have to have solid relationships with your factory. So obviously that's not something you should be asking on the first or the second order. But once you've done a few orders and your business is growing and you've been doing business together for a few years, they're a lot more likely to grant you those favors. And you have a much bigger chance if you've like visited your factory or they've come to visit you or you have a relationship via WeChat. I mean, anyone who listens to what I say, that's probably the one thing I preach the most, like the relationship with the manufacturer. And it's these.
Let's get into that because obviously there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And I know we've covered it on my show, but there's a different audience here on the live stream. Yeah. So let's talk about that, the importance of relationships. Let's start how you kick off a brand new, fresh relationship because everyone wants to get terms and everything, but you got to put the work in. You've got to get over. They've got to see these people. They've got to see you face to face, and people forget there's a two-way trust. So walk me through some of the stuff that you do in terms of building a dance partner, as I like to call it, a good relationship with someone that you have mutual trust with, so you can grow the business together.
Sure. I mean, the quickest and the easiest and the best way to build this relationship is to actually visit China. And I know it's a lot harder to do that now, right? But that's what I've been doing over the last 10 years because I lived there and attended so many Canton fairs. And it's so funny, right? See, last time I was in China, which was like November last year, I actually interviewed the factory boss. And I'm actually releasing that video today on YouTube. And I asked him the same question. I was like, what's the best way that people can, get the best terms out of you? And the factory boss says communication with manufacturing must be face-to-face. And he re-emphasized this so many times because he said, look, online, when you're selling stuff, you can sell stuff online, no problem. But manufacturing, when you're manufacturing stuff, it must be face-to-face because for them to really support you as a customer, they have to believe in your vision and they cannot believe in your vision like online. So the key thing is face-to-face communication, and obviously we can do that when we can visit. But if not, if you've been talking to your supplier for quite a while and you know you can't get out to China, download the application WeChat on your phone. And WeChat is like the Chinese like messenger or Chinese like WhatsApp. That's your communication app. And have all your informal conversations on WeChat. Like, what did you get up to on the weekend? How's your family? Here's what we made for dinner tonight. Just send pictures and just start to build up a bit of a relationship and a bit of rapport. Obviously, all your important order information, which is like, the price and the delivery date, keep all of that to email. But the informal chat, put it to WeChat, and obviously do some video calls every now and then as well, and just become friends. And then once you become friends, like you start to develop that trust and that friendship, and then they start to offer you like new products. Hey, this is something new we're working on. Here's a picture. What do you think about this? And it's amazing what happens. But
well, you go to their weddings in some cases, don't you? You've built such good relationships. You go and stay with them or go to their weddings, and
my one of my favorite suppliers, I've known him for 10 years. He asked me to name his child, which is cool.
What, in Chinese or in English?
So they came up with the Chinese name and said, we want you to name the English name.
What did you give him? Did you name him after your good self, or?
No, you know what happened? We were in Prague for Augustus's event. Yeah. And it was the night before they asked, so I thought, let's name the child Augustus. But I didn't. I thought.
Have you told Augustus this?
Yeah. But actually, the baby was born in June, so I named it June.
Nice.
So I was also born in June as well, so I thought it was quite nice.
Cool. So let's talk about the negotiations part. So building a relationship to factories, paramount. I mean, I've got a friend, won't name them, but they went over and gave them the whole business plan. She went in, sat down with her husband. They sat down with the production team and the owner. I think this year she got about 600,000 in credit in terms of on her products for Q4. I mean, that second or third negotiation, but it all came down to that relationship as well. So it can be done, and she wasn't with the factory long, but they see the velocity. No trouble with payments before, always had a good relationship and stuff. So whilst you're there in those negotiations, what are we looking at here? What, you can't just go in, I want this, and to drop the unit price. You've got to wine and dine. There's got a little bit of love and care there, isn't there?
Yeah. So that was a really good point you made about, them getting credit, but before they got credit, they always made their payments on time.
Exactly.
And that is so important. The two things that factories really value, right, is one, don't mess them around in terms of asking for loads of samples and then not placing an order. And the second thing is just pay on time. And here's the thing, like when it comes to your 30% deposit or it comes to your 70% balance, if you always pay on time and they've never had to chase you and they've never had to worry about your payments, and there's going to come a time when you're like, look, I need credit for 90 days. I need $100,000 credit. They'll be like, okay, cool. Because for the last year, they've always paid on time. We've never had any issues. So I trust this person. But if they've always had to chase you for payments and then you ask for credit, they'll be like, no way. So that's critical in the aspect of that. But in terms of negotiation strategies and things like that, the best advice I can give is to really educate yourself on what is the real market price of your product first. And the way to do that is to have a detailed specification sheet of exactly what is your item, like what are all the materials, what's the dimensions, what's the weight, what sort of testing do you require, what coating has the fabric got, what is the denier of the polyester on the fabric. And you can get all this information from the supplier. Either you can say to them, look, can you send me your specification sheet for this item? And then you can add or delete any details to the product, and then put your logo on it, PDF it. And then you send that specification sheet to multiple different suppliers that you find on Alibaba or like other websites or that you have built up a relationship with. And then you start to get the prices back, like $8, $8.20, $8.40. So you know that product is around like $8.20, and you can start to negotiate around what you know is the real price for that product. But if you go into a booth at the Canton Fair, or if you go into a listing on Alibaba and you say, what's the price of that? And what's the price of that? You're not quoting like for like between suppliers. Everyone's quoting for different things. So you might get a product which is $6, one which is $9, one which is $8.50, but you don't really have a frame of reference of everyone quoting for the same thing. So I like to educate myself, like what's the market price, and then who's my favorite supplier. So let's say you get $8.20 and $8.90, but your favorite supplier was $8.90. You can tell them, look, I like your product, I like your factory, I like that you've got your certificates, but there's another supplier who's offering me $8.20. So if you can match that price, then I'll place the business to you. And more often than not, they'll match the price. So you get your favorite supplier and your favorite price, but you did your research first. You can't just go into a booth or go into a listing and just say what's the best price, because they're also expecting you to negotiate as well.
Yeah. Cool. And in terms of what if people have got a situation where even though they got an inspection done, by the time it landed in the US, UK, or wherever it lands, there's a lot of still issue in terms of quality control with the products. What do you do there? I mean, a factory could just say, you know, sling your hook basically, and then move on to the next person. But there are cases, obviously, they want to put things right. What's the person's best approach for that? Bearing in mind the stock's already left China, there isn't much you can do other than go over there.
Yeah.
What is your best scenario here of negotiating something so you can recover these losses, or get something where you can destroy the stock? Because it's not worth sending it back. You might as well bin it, right? In most cases.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this issue a few times, and not because the supplier is trying to do one over on you. Sometimes mistakes genuinely happen. Sometimes if the order takes a long time to confirm, like some bits of communication can be missed. And I think the most important thing you can do initially before all this happens is to align with the right manufacturer, which you feel will take responsibility for their actions. And it's hard to anticipate that just in your conversation. But I'll give you an example, right? We manufactured 20,000 military bags, right? And it was coming to the UK, very wet climate. It's raining right now here in Scotland. And what happened was the supplier forgot to put the waterproof coating on the bag. So like if it rains on the bag, the water's coming straight through. And we're like, we can't sell this. And there's 20,000 units, which just arrived in our warehouse. Now, the communication said that we asked for waterproof coating. And I think the sample even had waterproof coating as well. The factory put their hand up. They were like, it's our fault. We'll remake it at our own expense and we'll send it to you. And that was over $100,000. But they took a massive loss on that order, but they valued our business as a customer.
Long term.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, we're okay to take a $100,000 loss on this order because we're going to get 10 years business out of this company because everything's been going so well so far, and we can recoup that like later on down the line. And that's a very honorable and that's a very responsible factory. And those are these factories do exist. You know, all Chinese factories are not out to screw you. There's very honorable and very reputable business partners. But to find them, you have to basically really do your research. But okay, let's say that situation doesn't happen, and let's say that the goods have arrived in really damaged stock. Again, to preempt any of that is that you really have to be doing pre-shipment inspections. And that's the whole point of a pre-shipment inspection, that like you're going to check that there's not going to be any faults. And there are very good inspection companies which like check everything, test it, use it in the factory to make sure that there aren't any issues. But in inspections, they use something which is called AQL, which is the acceptable quality level. And you have minor, major, and critical. Minor, you're allowed 4% faults, major 2.5%, and critical 0, right? So if the stock arrives and it's below the 4%, then you just have to stomach it because that's like industry standards. But if it's above the 4%, but not crazy, let's just say like 10% or 15%, what I would say is that I just take a note of all the returns, and any return that I get, I'm going to basically either bill you for it, or if I get like say 15 returns out of every 100, I'm going to, on the next order, you have to ship those items free of charge. So you're going to get those back. But then if it's a total disaster, the order, like one, you have to make the decision, right? Okay, I can't sell this because it's going to damage my brand. And I need to ask the factory to basically remake this as soon as possible at their own expense and ship it, because you've already paid the shipping cost as well. So they need to cover that as well. And if they tell you to go screw yourself, then in the long term, like you've probably done yourself a favor because you've just taken out a bad supplier, and the suppliers are like so important to your business journey. So you just have to like kind of stomach that. But then the good factories will honor your agreement and they'll remake it. So it can be a harsh loss sometimes, but it can be a blessing for your long-term business as well. Yeah.
Okay, controversial topic because it's like people like them, they don't like them, but you're not a massive fan of sourcing agents, are you?
No.
You see there's the upside and the downside. So let's address that. With like, you know, you've been in the game deep for a long time. NBA, Barcelona, Neymar, Above and Beyond, Tesco's, the Olympics, you've done a lot, right? So you've been around the block. But you had this thing about sourcing agents. Let's talk about it. What are the key downsides of the sourcing agent and not doing it yourself or in-house and having a team in China that work under you, you know?
Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, sourcing agents can be beneficial for certain people depending on like where your strengths lie, because like if you're amazing at marketing or PPC or whatever and you don't have any interest in products and you hate visiting China, then probably a sourcing agent is your best bet. And yes, like you might be paying a little bit extra than you should be paying and you don't get that supplier relationship. But if that thing is completely taken off your hands and you can focus on what you're really good at, then great. The reason that I don't use sourcing agents is I do all my sourcing myself. But there's kind of people in the middle who are like, I've got an interest in sourcing and I like going to China, but I think someone else could get me a better price or better quality. So if you are working with a sourcing agent, there's kind of like a few things that you need to clarify with them. One is, do I get, and the most important thing by far,
the factory contact.
Yeah. Do I get a direct line of communication with the factory? Because like if you're only buying from a sourcing agent, but that sourcing agent hides the factory information from you, there's so many things that can go wrong. Because if you're dealing with like a one-man show or a one-woman show, if that agent goes missing, if they go on holiday, if they get married, they go on a honeymoon, if they just decide to quit their job, if they get hit by a bus, like you do not know where your goods are made, right? And the other thing, the damaging thing about not knowing where your goods are made is if they can just switch your product to different factories without you ever knowing, just because they're getting a better price. And the other thing about sourcing agents is that like sometimes they don't have your best interest at heart. Sometimes they place your order to the factory, which incentivizes them the most because they get a kickback from the factory as well, rather than what was actually the best product at the best price. So, and you never really know that because you weren't really involved in the sort of negotiation and things like that. And the other thing is that you kind of want to ask is like, what is the scope of your operation? Because, you know, some sourcing agents just find you the product and the price and they just give that information to you and you order it. Or some of them will do your QC, some of them will do your testing, some of them will help with your logistics. So you really want to clarify, like, what am I paying for here? Like, what am I getting out of your services? And then the other thing is that, like, how are you compensated? Because some sourcing agents just take a percentage of the order. Now, if you're a really big company and like you aim to like, you know, be doing like 20 different products and you're doing 20,000 units per order, you don't want to give away 5% every single time on every order. You might want to say to the sourcing agent, look, I'll give you a flat fee commission of like $3,000. Just go and find me the best products, best suppliers, and send me the samples. And that's like, you're much better off. But if you're just starting out and you want to place your first order for like 300 pieces, well, then just pay like a small commission of the order. So like some different styles can be beneficial depending on where you're at.
Now, the biggest problem out of all of that we haven't covered, when you come to sell your business, if you want to get an exit and sell your business at some point down the road, there's the value goes straight down. If not, people are going to take a step back. What do you mean you don't have the factory contact? You don't have the relationship? That's a big red flag for someone to buy your business as well.
For sure. And then again, as you said, like the factory relationship, some of the best things to come out of that relationship is not only just the price, but it's them offering you new products. It's them giving you credit. It's them sort of like giving you faster lead times. It's them pushing you to the front of the production schedule. So many different benefits that you get outside of just product and price. And you lose all of that if you give that relationship to someone else. So like I said, don't get me wrong. Some people might find sourcing agents beneficial, but just make sure you have a direct line of communication with the factory and do your own research as well. Because like you might, even though you're going to hire a sourcing agent, still do your checks on Alibaba. Because if you can find a supplier for your product for like $7, but a sourcing agent is giving you $7.50, then they know, you know, that they're doing one over on you. So don't just give it to a sourcing agent and let them handle everything. Still do your own checks and then see if a sourcing agent can do better than you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, look, this before we wrap here, I just want to read out some of the people that are going to be on this broadcast. We're probably about 8 hours in, so we've got 30 something hours to go, 40 hours to go. Right. Brent Zaradnik, I think he was on earlier on, but you can get that on the replay. Mike Zagari was on. Sharon Evan was on before us with Yana. Norm Ferrer be up here later. Troy Johnston will be here. Egler will be here later. Sean Smith, Elizabeth Olsen Green, Lee Rand Hirschkorn, Yao Kabeli, Shane Oglow, George Maressa, Amy Weiss, Cassandra Craven from Helion 10, Augustus Clegis, I'm probably butchering these names, and Yana's going to kill me in the background. Destiny Wishon, Christina's here. Everyone will know Christina is, but I'm not even going to attempt a surname. And Isabella Hamilton will also, I'm sure there's going to be more added to the stream. We'll sign off in a moment. What's the best way that people can reach you, Kian?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone wants any further help or advice with sourcing, I've got a Facebook group just called Sourcing with Kian. And yeah, just a big community. Everyone asks questions. We all help each other out. And I've also got a YouTube channel of the same name, also Sourcing with Kian, where I post videos weekly. I got some really cool ones in there. Excited for you guys to see like real life footage in China and the Canton Fair and factories, interviews with all these guys. And also, if you're on Instagram, I am Kian_JG, where I'm just a little bit more social there. So hope to connect with you guys. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries, guys. I'm going to sign off now. You've got the next guest coming up in about 12 minutes from now. So go and grab a cup of tea, coffee, or whatever your persuasion is. Lovely to see you all. See you all. If you have any questions, drop me an email to danny@sellersessions.com. If you haven't done already, sell a poll. The awards for the community. The closing date is October 28th. If you're not voted already, go to sellerpoll.com. And go and vote there, which is brought to you by the same sponsors here, Thrasio. Take care and look after your family. I'm out of here. Bye.
See you guys. Ooh, I'm going to jump out as well.